This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
It's Chad, and we really want to be it, and we hope our good times never end. It's Mozz, it's Chad, and we really want to be your friend. Hey, cats and kittens, welcome once again to the AKA JonesCast. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esther, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich.
It's Mozz.
Yes, hey, Mozz. And live from the Peanut Gallery is Tristan.
Love it.
Tri-stand with the power of three stands.
Oh boy.
Yes, he is ready to do battle with you all. Okay, welcome to Season 3, Episode 8, aka Camera Friendly. When Salinger posts a video teasing his next crime, Jessica responds with her own media play. Jerry demands that Malcolm identify the masked woman. Director this week is Stefan Surjik. Our writing credits, of course, go to Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gadus, who give us our great Marvel credits, without whom nothing would be possible. Jesse Harris is our staff writer. Jamie King and Jay Holtman once again doing half the work as our story editors, because there's just so much work to do. And Scott Reynolds gets our written by Melissa Rosenberg. She created all this, so we should all be very thankful for her. So how does this episode open?
It opens with Sosa having a tip for Jessica. And
so last episode we did find the body, and I know that they want Sosa to get the jurisdiction, which
that's tough. So
well, you know, to me it was like the minute they did this, it was like, oh, that's just such a bad choice. Well, because it's this New Yorkers idea that only New Yorkers can do it right.
Interesting.
I mean,
there's something to be said for like favoritism and wanting to protect the boy. She already showed, signs of that. So
I know, but it's just this idea.
But that wasn't the reason. Yeah, I know.
Well, what it is, what there's a coroner, and I'm sure there's a forensic team in that upstate town who might have figured because they knew beforehand, because the detective makes the point that there's a hair. They found a hair.
Yeah.
So if they found a hair, first off, it's not like they're necessarily going to do the DNA sequencing there,
Right.
I mean, maybe they might do it in New York, maybe they might send it out, but it's like, it's a DNA sequencing. They're going to do the DNA, and the idea that it has to be in New York, to me, I kind of feel like this is kind of pissing contest that you get between the two departments is problematic.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's these kind of moments that cause problems later down the road when, what was the chain of evidence? What's the chain of command? How do, as it is, you already have this issue that Jessica Jones found the body. So it's like, well, how do we know she didn't put the hair there,
No.
Of course, I don't think any jury's going to believe that in general.
But the defense will certainly try to bring it up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you're desperate, you're desperate. And, one thing we know about Jaren is she's
Indeed.
So we're opening with this, and we do see that after the events of last episode where, Jessica really beats the heck out of, I won't say beats the heck out of, but basically humiliates Salinger. She comes across, he decides he's going to tease her with a little, what was it? It's like the Snap video Vine thing. I'm sure it was very hip at the time. The idea that you get the two watches of a video and then it deletes itself forever. Although, of course, she eventually figures out how you deal with that. But of course, for what it's worth.
In a very old school analog way, almost.
Yeah, well, what it is for what it's worth, not for nothing, Kristen Ritter is, she's, I'm not going to say she's as old as me, but she's a child of the 80s. She remembers the 80s, and the kids, she's a millennial, and this is post-millennial technology,
Yeah.
So it's like, what are the kids, what are those kids doing nowadays, and why are they on my lawn? And to Salinger's credit, he's down with the kids, so he knows all the little things. So has the sends the Snapchat video, and they realize that okay, he is going to kill one of these people. They don't know who. Now, up until now, he's always killed men, because
Right.
because of reasons. Yeah, reasons. I'm sorry. The guy is just in so many ways repressed and uncomfortable with his own self. That's the thing. Is like anybody that's doing this kind of action, it has to be from a place. How they say like everybody is really a coward. I think there's actually a lot of truth to that. I think most people who do evil, it is because in their heart of hearts they just lack a sense of own self-worth. That they can't be honest with who they are to themselves. They can't be honest with who they are to the world, and so they lash out in these ways to try and show that they are in control of everything. Because the one place they're not in control is inside the room. That all they have is doubt and fear and all that kind of stuff. They never, they didn't watch
enough Mr. Rogers.
Oh yeah, honestly, Mr. Rogers, it's
yeah.
One of the great ones. So I hear. I never met the man, but I've never heard a bad story about him. All I hear is,
No, and all I mean, and all I know is from my own experience growing up, how impactful he was.
Yes, well, exactly. He was a great person who he was. You know what he was? He was an honest, kind, good person. And it's so shocking that we're like, what is this? It's a person who actually treats other human beings with respect and kindness. I'm not familiar with this, but that is who we all should try to respect other people for their humanity. Radical concepts, I know, but yeah. So that was Mr. Rogers, man, and one of those shows where you kind of when it goes off the air, you're like, oh, I should have watched it. Well, yeah, but it is for like preschoolers, and you are 40, so maybe you don't need to watch it as much.
Yeah.
But I will always remember the bubble opera. That was something. A whole opera, bubble world, and it was really about environmental degradation, and it was actually because this was back when aerosols were like eating the ozone layer, and there was this whole thing about like spray on sweaters for your bubbles because it was like a bubble world, but when you would release the chemicals that made the bubble sweaters, it was causing this horrible wind that would eventually destroy the bubbles, and they had to defeat it with a song or something along those lines. It was a great opera, and yes.
I have a question. Now, we were all concerned about a hole in the ozone. Now, with global warming or climate change or whatever you want to call it, with the amount of heat trapped in our atmosphere, maybe a hole in the ozone layer might be helpful? What do you think?
No. Because it's different kinds of radiation. So what happens with greenhouse gas is essentially white light comes in.
Right.
It hits the earth, and some of it gets absorbed, but then the red light coming back up from the earth, where basically the light of color has a broader frequency.
Okay.
And it can't. It basically, with a high carbon dioxide atmosphere, it actually sort of it winds up the heat from the light gets absorbed into the air.
Well, there's no sort of mechanical element of the process that can escape through a hole that would sort of ease and take away some of the heat.
No, because that's actually about higher level energies. So essentially, what happens with ozone is it actually deflects higher level energy.
No, what I'm saying is like in that one patch where there's a hole, all the ultraviolet energy and all that stuff can get in, but maybe some of the heat can escape. No? Oh.
No. I mean, because what's trapping the heat isn't the ozone. It's the CO2 and other gases that basically are heavier.
Okay.
Basically, here's how you can think of it. So ozone is a relatively light gas, and it's in the upper atmosphere. Because it's in the upper atmosphere, it actually will be in the lower atmosphere too if you create it on Earth. That's why after a lightning strike, you'll actually smell ozone, or if you do an electronic charge, you'll smell the ozone. It actually stays at the level it's at. the thing about ozone is that it's upper atmosphere ozone, which actually, essentially what happens is when the cosmic rays come, it forms the ozone. It absorbs the cosmic rays, deflects some, and so you get less cosmic rays on Earth. When the light comes through, and what you're actually looking at, and again, it's about visible light. It's an entirely different aspect of it's an entirely different aspect of an entirely different frequency of the light. When the visible light is coming through, it passes down through easily, but then once it gets reflected back, the heavier molecules sort of essentially absorb more of the heat from that light as it's traveling back out of the Earth.
I see.
So that's the thing, and this is also why cloud cover actually lowers global warming, as does fine particulates in the atmosphere, because these are all things that are basically white and so reflect light directly back. When something can reflect light directly back, it doesn't get the chance to stay in our atmosphere. But once it gets into our atmosphere and hits the brown earth or brown building or whatever, or green or blue or whatever color you want to color it, more of that energy gets absorbed into the earth and into the air. So, yeah, it's just about different frequencies of light.
Gotcha.
So that's your science lesson for today, kids. We did film last episode. Today we're doing science. So we got the arts and the sciences covered.
Right.
Okay. Where were we on this episode? So Salinger's going to kill this lady. Which is not good. You shouldn't kill a lady. But he definitely says he's going to kill this. Well, we don't know that he's going to kill the lady at first. Although, I mean, from me, just from the way that he framed the shot, it was pretty obvious it was the lady.
Right.
But as they say, he didn't kill ladies before that. Before that, he always killed guys.
Right.
So they're dismissing the lady as a victim.
Right. Also, because he could be conniving enough to put her in frame just to throw people off. You don't know if he's playing the double con,
Well, that's to some extent, maybe he was the whole time. Because we do see that, if nothing else, either Salinger, this is what Salinger had planned, or this is what Salinger improvised when his plan went awry.
Yeah, I think he had a backup plan ready to go. If that doesn't pan out, he has a backup plan. And it seems like he has 3 or 4 of these backup plans. And there was a lot of, sort of nods to The Dark Knight in this movie, in this show, or at least in this episode. We'll get to them, I guess, but like, I mean, in the fact that he has all these backup plans and that he is so smart and evil and conniving, reminded me a lot of the Joker, especially with his final backup plan.
Oh yeah, and that was dark. But we'll get to that in a minute, because I don't want to spoil that yet, because that's a big. As we're working through this, we have a lot going on. There is this race to try and find who he's targeting. And they do eventually realize it is probably the one. Because as they point out, it's dark hair, leather jacket. He's trying to kill Jess. And what's interesting to me, and it is kind of weird to me, because the first couple times I thought that, I was certain that was a trans. And which, maybe that's just me, I don't know. But to me, the woman that they eventually find didn't look like the woman at the start of it. But that's just my opinion. The woman I felt they got to at the end looked a lot more slighter build than the woman that you see at the start of it. So maybe there was a choice and they switched it at the end because maybe they thought it was too controversial. Maybe they felt it didn't work as well. But I really felt that was because it was,
If that's the case, I'm glad they went that route.
Yeah, but anyway, it was interesting the way they do it with Mona Lee. But you get them trying to sort of sort down what it's about, and he leads them on clearly what is a wild goose chase, because he's giving them all sorts of crumbs. He's being the Riddler, but he's better than the Riddler, because even if you solve the riddle, it doesn't actually help you out, because he's intentionally misleading you. He's intentionally misdirecting.
No, but he's totally the Joker.
Yeah, I wouldn't impugn the Joker in that way, but yeah.
Well, fair enough. But in the way he sets up the final moments, it was very, very Joker-like with him and Trish.
Well, that's a whole other bag of hammers because that ends on a real cliffhanger.
Right.
I don't want to get too much into the cliffhanger yet.
Well, yeah, because right, okay.
Because we got a few more minutes of this podcast to do, and
right.
And that is the thing. And what I will, because what I'll say about the cliffhanger is, it is a cliffhanger. Where they end it can go one of a dozen ways.
Right.
And if they go one way, it is a very different story than if they go another way. Because, they eventually, essentially what they do is they do this big manhunt for this woman. Jessica goes on TV with the help of Dorothy, who's trying to help her, be camera friendly as per the title, and how to get into the, how to present herself. And of course, Jessica is in no way ready for it. But at the same time, as Dorothy says at the end of it, and really what you got to see is this super encouraging aspect. She says, look, you did great,
Right. And
what you did, that's going to be on every streaming platform in the country.
And you see sort of Jessica's confidence in, her decision making grows. She's not afraid to say exactly what's on her mind because she knows it's right. And to have, and it's sort of like, I should have seen the end coming earlier because of how nice Jessica was being to Dorothy and how complimentary she was, even to Trish in the car saying, she helped today. Don't tell her I said that,
Yeah, I mean, well, and that is what's going on with this, is, and for what it's worth, there is this aspect of Dorothy where you're never, up until, and what I'll say is this, is for the ending that we get, and maybe it is a little pat, a little too predictable, is you really get Dorothy being finally revealed to be actually not a horrible human being.
Right.
Just as things go horribly, horribly wrong for her.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same journey Malcolm's on. He's found himself in almost, it's not, I don't think he actively chose to be in that position. He was sort of a victim of circumstance and fell his way backwards into that situation. But he too finally had enough and finally finds something to make him worthwhile again to himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is where we're at with this, and we do have everybody teaming up, everyone working together, which is great, and it's great until you realize that it was all for nothing. Or maybe not, because, they do find Mona Lee, and Mona Lee is the woman in the video, and they do save her for whatever. They get to her before Salinger does. And, Costa says, you saved that, and that is a thing, but at the same time, Jessica is feeling, I don't feel like I did,
Right.
Jessica knows something more, that there's another shoe that's going to drop in this story. And, of course, when they get back and they realize that Dorothy is missing, well, actually what you realize is, because Trish gets back, after all that she's been doing. Oh, no, she comes in, Dorothy's dead.
Right.
And this is like, and honestly, this is one of these things. This is one of these aspects of this story where you get this build up for this entire show, and then they end it at the 45-minute mark. And you're like, wait, they solved the problem, but there's 45 minutes left. It's, there was this whole thing that, the people, I remember this comic used to make this joke about, I don't think they're going to get Timmy out of the well, It's like, Timmy's in the well. It's going to be a two-parter. And then what is the thing nowadays is that, you solve the problem. Like, oh my gosh, they're going to put Timmy back in that well. There's going to be another problem that they're going to leave us with at the end of this. And we get such a problem in that, Trish comes home and finds dead. Well, dead. Like, strongly implied to be dead. Well,
let me
put it this way. We as people who have seen this stuff, we're like, she could still be alive.
Yeah. Pick up the phone, call the ambulance. They might be able to stabilize her. And the phone keeps ringing and she's just beside herself.
Yeah, I I don't think there was a lot they
Yeah, but I mean, as far as knowing superhero shows and how, fickle they can be with their own decision making, it's entirely something that could happen.
But to that extent, what's important to always remember is they don't know their
Right.
They don't know what they don't know. And of course, but here's the thing, and this is the thing of it, and this is where again, I always make the point, I don't pick fights with homeless guys because I don't want to pick a fight with a homeless guy because that homeless guy might be crazy. You're in a world where people are superpowered. You're in a world where there are superpowered people who might do bad to you if you do this. And part of me is like, is this meant to be like a suicide by superhero kind of concept? I mean,
yes. Because I think the point he's trying to make is bigger than himself, especially now that his life's over since the evidence of his crimes has been found. So his last, plan, his last backup plan was that I will get a super to kill me, much like what Faith's husband did. And that will show everybody that supers don't belong and that I never deserve to be cheated, as I was.
Yeah.
So that's what it reminded me of with the Joker, because he was always trying to get Batman to kill him to prove he's just like him, that you're not better than us, that no one can be better than us, that even the best of you can be brought down. And that was, I think, what his goal was here. And that's one of the things that reminded me of the Dark Knight here.
Well, yeah. Oh, and for what it's worth, that's also Lex Luthor's motivation all the time either, is that he can't possibly trust that Superman could be a good person. He can't imagine that someone could be more noble than him.
Right.
And he knows he's not noble, so how could you possibly be noble? Because I'm not noble.
Right.
And I'm the best human being there is. So I'm not noble, and you're going to send your noble? You must be up.
Right.
Which, goes back to that last episode where, the lawyers in the $300 suits are making the argument about, the importance of maintaining the
infrastructure.
The infrastructure of jurisprudence, when it's like, yeah, that would have a lot more weight if you weren't wearing a $300 suit, And we didn't know that there was a personal motivation for why you're doing this.
Right.
That it's not the merits of the case, it is the desire to achieve your own self-agreement. And that, I think, is what really separates a hero from a villain, A hero, and that is the thing, and I think we get this a bit with Trish in this. Trish is going through her dark side, her dark path.
Yeah.
And yes, she is being self-important and self-aggrandizing, and she wants to be the hero. But at the end of the day, she wants to be the hero, I think, because she wants to do good. And she just doesn't know how to. And she doesn't know how to do good without being recognized as the hero.
Right. I think because the way she was raised, she really had issues with identity. She never really got to be herself. The identity of the character was forced on her, and then the identity of the character of her celebrity persona was forced on her. So she's always been struggling with identity, and here she finds something that could be that for her, but she's used to getting things a different way. So she's applying her little actor, brain to this and trying to make that happen.
And, I really love Patsy's arc at the second act. Because I think that, this is what I'll say. I really feel that this entire season is about Patsy. Basically, her travel through the dark cave, and when you think about, you think about Jedi, and because we have new Jedis coming, and the big question is, will Rey go to the dark path, And, the reality that as, when Luke went into the cave of darkness, he turned away, and as Luke says in, I think it was The Last Jedi, he says she didn't even hesitate. She just went right for the darkness, and I think that is sort of where Patsy is right now, where she is not hesitating. She sees where she wants to be, and she's going to let go with what she has. And when Salinger kills her mom, which I also think is a nice bookend to the last season where she winds up killing Jessica's mom.
Right.
And now because of actions by Jessica, arguably her mom is now dead.
Well, I mean, she wanted to attack it a very different way. It was a lot of unnecessary nudging to do the wrong things on Trish's part that led her there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, there's no argument that,
Yeah.
Trish is definitely the author of her own fate.
Indeed.
There's no argument on that point.
I mean, you're calling the paparazzi to popularize yourself, and that's how he was able to figure out who you really were.
Yes. But again, that goes to that idea that, this is all but suicide by superheroes. And
his?
Not for nothing.
And maybe hers.
Well, but here's the thing about that. It's like, oh, well, I've got all these video cameras. Yeah, we can smash video cameras. We can burn down your entire apartment. You're acting like you've got this safety net from superheroes is a little bit ridiculous. Because I mean that's the entire idea is that he's like, oh, well, it'll be on tape that she killed me, and then I'll have one. Which again is just assuming that someone else isn't going to kill you, that they're not going to kill you from 6 blocks away with a sniper rifle.
Right.
That Frank Castle isn't going to show up in this episode. I was like, yeah, I figured I'd kill that guy. He looked like a guy who needed killing. And that's the truth of it. Is like, you're picking these battles that you're not ready to. To what it's worth, I think that there is a real self-destructive quality to it.
I think from Jessica's perspective, she's also sort of tantalized by the idea that maybe public opinion will be on the side of right, that maybe she misjudged people in general. So she's expecting, and that's why that moment is so nice when she sort of like beats down Salinger, the kids start, clapping. And I think that's the same energy she's trying to reach for in her interview, where she's being flippant and she's being real and she's being raw. She's saying to be who I'm going to be and speak to what I think is right. I think I am right, and I think people will see it and fall in line behind that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's very much the case, I think that, without a doubt, she's trying to show that the world, here's the thing is, the world is better than she's always thought it was. And, for what it's worth, that's really the thing of it, is that she's never really walked away from the goodness of the world. It's like she had this negativity about the world, but even within that negativity, she's always still trying to be a good person.
Right.
She's the one that's there for Patsy when she's going through her struggles, and she isn't abandoning anyone who she cares about, It's just, to me, it's like she's always trying to be a better person.
Yeah, but I think before it was almost sort of like she was trying her best not to be, and fell backwards into being a good person because she was forced to. Yeah. But here, I feel like there is a subtle shift in what she thinks the world will do with what she gives them.
Yeah, and I think that is the positive note from this episode. And of course, once she realizes what Trish is going to do, she rushes, of course, to stop it. And that is where we end this episode, is with her about to cut Salinger's throat.
What's in the box?
Yeah. Well, we don't get to find out what the choice was made until next episode. Though one could say there is a next episode, so we can probably guess what the choice that was made was. But like I said, I think that is the kind of situation where Salinger is gambling, and maybe his plan is to, we're almost to live is the disappointment, because he was kind of
right
on that suicide by super.
Right.
To walk away from it is, not really what he really wanted. But anyway, that's this episode. Any final thoughts tonight, Mozz?
And the other thing I think is worth mentioning is Malcolm being found out by his girlfriend, and she decides to lie on his behalf as well, which is sort of like she wants to be the kind of person that's cold-hearted, but maybe there's still some good in her too, because that's some sort of like a maybe Malcolm is the justification for her for sabotaging the case because she doesn't believe she's doing the right thing either.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
Maybe.
think at the end of the I think at the end of the day, that's if there's nothing else, I think that's the point of that's Jessica's point, is that no matter how much we want to do bad for our own self-interest, there's a basic nature of humanity that actually cares about other people. That we have connections to other people is what gives us our strength. That makes us stronger because we are tied to someone else. And to that extent, that is the weakness of Salinger, because Salinger doesn't have that. Because Salinger is a person bound by his own weakness, his own inability to...
And his own view of himself.
Exactly. He's like not able to break free. He's
right.
not able...
He doesn't have an objective mirror to reflect on, ever.
Exactly. And that's why his evil just sort of...
festers.
It is an Ouroboros. It's an Ouroboros. It just devours itself. And that is for what it's worth, the ninth circle of hell, is being that constant state of being devoured, regurgitated, and devoured again.
Wow.
But anyway, yes. Oh, man, Dante, he gets crazy. Anyway, so that was this episode. There are a few more coming up, folks, so stay tuned. Not done. We're not out of the woods yet. We'll see when Disney Plus comes along what me and Mozz decide we might want to talk about, but we'll have to face that struggle when we get to it. Okay, but until then, Mozz, how can people find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZ MANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our moms and our paws once did, way long ago. You can write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet things that will be coming soon at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Ding.
There we go. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, cats and kittens, folks of all ages, thanks for listening to me and Mozz. Just always know, we really want to be good night.